Okay, if everybody would open up to Leviticus 19, and I'm going to read, and I may just read the whole portion, okay? At least all of Leviticus 19. The Lord said to Moses, speak to the entire assembly of Israel and say to them, be holy because I, the Lord your God, am holy. Each of you must respect his mother and father, and you must observe my Sabbaths. I am the Lord your God. Do not turn to idols or make gods of cast metal for yourselves. I am the Lord your God. When you sacrifice a fellowship offering to the Lord, sacrifice it in such a way that it will be accepted on your behalf. It shall be eaten on the day you sacrifice it or on the next day. Anything left over until the third day must be burned up. If any of it is eaten on the third day, it is impure and will not be accepted. Whoever eats it will be held responsible because he has desecrated what is holy to the Lord. That person must be cut off from his people. When you reap the harvest of your land, do not reap to its very edges of your field or gather the gleanings of your harvest. Do not go over your vineyard a second time or pick up the grapes that have fallen. Leave them for the poor and the alien. I am the Lord your God. Do not steal, do not lie, do not deceive one another. Do not swear falsely by my name and so profane the name of your God. I am the Lord. Do not defraud your neighbor or rob him. Do not hold back the wages of a hired man overnight. Do not curse the deaf or put a stumbling block in front of the blind. But fear your God, I am the Lord. Do not pervert justice. Do not show partiality to the poor or favoritism to the great, but judge your neighbor fairly. Do not go about spreading slander among your people. Do not do anything that endangers your neighbor's life. I am the Lord. Do not hate your brother in your heart. Rebuke your neighbor frankly, so you will not share in his guilt. Do not seek revenge or bear a grudge against one of your people, but love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. Keep my decrees. Do not make different kinds of animals. Do not plant your field with two kinds of seed. Do not wear clothing woven of two kinds of material. If a man sleeps with a woman who is a slave girl, promised to another man, but who has not been ransomed or given her freedom, there must be due punishment. Yet they are not to be put to death because she has not been freed. The man, however, must bring a ram to the entrance of the tent of meeting for a guilt offering to the Lord. With the ram of the guilt offering, the priest is to make atonement for him before the Lord for the sin he has committed, and his sin will be forgiven. When you enter the land and plant any kind of fruit tree, regard its fruit as forbidden. For 3 years you are to consider it forbidden. It must not be eaten. In the 4th year, all of its fruit will be holy, an offering of praise to the Lord. But in the 5th year, you may eat its fruit. In this way, your harvest will be increased. I am the Lord your God. Do not eat any meat with blood still in it. Do not practice divination or sorcery. Do not cut the hair at the sides of your head or clip off the edges of your beard. Do not cut your bodies for the dead or put tattoo marks on yourselves. I am the Lord. Do not degrade your daughter by making her a prostitute, or the land will turn to prostitution and be filled with wickedness. Observe my Sabbaths and have reverence for my sanctuary. I am the Lord. Do not turn to mediums or seek out spiritists, for you will be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God. Rise in the presence of the aged. Show respect for the elderly and revere your God. I am the Lord. When an alien lives with you in your land, do not mistreat him. The alien living with you must be treated as one of your native born. Love him as yourself, for you were aliens in Egypt. I am the Lord your God. Do not use dishonest standards when measuring length, weight, and quantity. Use honest scales and honest weights, an honest ephah, and an honest him. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt. Keep all my decrees and all my laws and follow them. I am the Lord. And that is Leviticus 19. And we'll go from there. Okay, everyone. Kedoshim begins in chapter 19:1 and it goes to chapter 20:27. Kedoshim means holy ones, or you shall be holy. And that is your first fill in Roman numeral 1. Kedoshim. Kedoshim. Okay, chapter 19 begins with, then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speak to all the congregation of the sons of Israel and say to them, you shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy. In this Torah portion, God describes to Moses many ethical and ritual laws aimed to help people live lives of holiness. The laws described include some of those recorded in the Ten Commandments, such as respecting one's parents, keeping the Sabbath, and not stealing. In fact, when we get into it, you're going to see that in this portion here, it's very similar to the portion in Exodus where the Lord gave the Ten Commandments to his people. God also introduces laws about farming and about belief in supernatural beings. The rabbis say there are a total of 51 commandments in this Perishable, 13 positive commands and 38 negative commands. But when you really get into the both chapters, you can count as many as 58, 59 total commands. But the heart of this Perishable is holiness. Okay. Throughout this Perishable, there are do's and don'ts to get closer to God. If we really want to get closer to the Lord, then we will do exactly what the Lord tells us to do. You know, I could use Peggy as a pen. So, thank you, hon. If we can't do everything that, then, you know, the Didache, which is a book that is in the first century, if you want to call it Christian, first century church is probably the best way of putting it. Because I really don't believe, I know a lot of people teach that Christianity started at Shavuot. No, it did not. Then they say, well, you know, Paul and Peter and all of them, they were Christians. No, they were not, you know. But the Didache, which came about in the first century church, they do say that if you can't keep all of Torah, or if you can't keep everything, do the best you can. And I think that is very good in telling people, especially those who have come into the faith late, or, you know, or just learning, you do the best you can. Like I said, I was apologizing earlier about them eating leaven at Sarah's tent, but there was, you know, some of them just didn't know. They thought the festival was over. No, it wasn't. The festival ended on Saturday night. So, but all it means now, even if you miss a day of counting the Omer, you don't give up and say, I'm not going to do it you know, for the next 40 days. You just continue and you do the best you can. You pick up where you left off. Go ahead, Bonnie.
I think a lot of people were going by that little slip of paper that was given to us on a greeting table. it told you what not to eat, and then it told you the days to go by. So I think a lot of people were going by that.
Okay, because, what's that?
The bulletin had it in as done by.
Yeah, because like I
Really?
said, I think
I
what,
believe
what's,
so.
what's confusing to some people is they include Passover into the festival of unleavened bread. And Passover is not part of unleavened bread. It's its own holiday or its own moedy. So because of that, the festival didn't even start until Saturday night. Okay, and so it should have ended. It should have ended Saturday once the sun went down. In fact, Peggy and I, we went out and had something to eat Saturday after the sun went down. And then that's when we ate leaven. So we keep, yeah, it's a rehearsal. You're right. Bonnie said we were going to keep rehearsing, and yes, we are. Well, you know, the way, the way California is going, they're, well, we'll talk about that later. If we, like I said, do as much as you can. In Deuteronomy chapter 30, Moses gives us the encouragement. He tells the people that they can do all of God's commands. In Deuteronomy 30:11, I'm going to write that down. It says, "For this commandment which I am commanding you today is not too difficult for you." So Moses is saying, hey, and remember, Moses wasn't a perfect person. Huh? 30:11. Moses wasn't a perfect person. He was used by God, and I love it. Thank you, Lord, that you don't pick out the most educated or the most the best speakers, because when you start looking back, David wasn't perfect either, and he was used. Moses was used. Look at the apostle Paul. I mean, he was persecuting the disciples, or he was going after them, and yet he's probably the greatest. He is the greatest disciple of them all. But and it's because of the writings. Most of our Brit Hadashah is written by Paul. But so Moses says it's not too difficult for you. Moses is telling the people that they can do it, and he is using himself as an example. And I ask you, don't we want to be pleasing to God? Well, of course we do. Yes, we do. In chapter 19, verse 2, it gives us the person who we would like to, who we want to be like, okay? And it says in verse 2, "Speak to all the congregations of the sons of Israel and say to them, you shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy." So right there, we have the example. And even in the Brit Hadashah, we have an example. Who is our rabbi? Yeshua, okay? He is our example. And Yeshua fulfilled everything. Unfortunately, most of the Christian church takes that as he fulfilled the Old Testament, so now we don't have to. And, that's not the case. He is our example. What he was able to do, we should be able to do. We should be able to fulfill everything just as our rabbi did. Go ahead, Lucy.
Is it on, right? Okay.
Yeah, it's on.
I've always thought that the word to fulfill the law can be misleading.
Mhm.
Like it can seem like it's, I don't believe that, but I'm wondering if going back to the Hebrew, is there a better word that Yeshua came to continue the law or to, like there must be a better word.
And you're right, because I think fulfill is what's there in our Bible,
Mhm.
and you're right. but you can't, I mean, you don't want to put completed because then people would say, well, he completed it, it's over.
It's tricky.
Yeah, it is tricky, but I think when you understand, when you look at our writings, old, if you want to call it old and new, but if you look at our writings, and you look at it in a Hebrew mindset, boy, do things pop out at you. When you look at it in a Greek mindset, there's things that are missed. And I think this is where the Christian church, they're missing this, because in a Hebrew mindset, children are raised and they have a rabbi that they go to school with, and the rabbi is teaching them. And their goal in life is to learn everything that their rabbi knows, not to become greater than he is, but at least to become as equal or maybe just a step below, but they're getting there. They're getting everything. And that's what Yeshua did. Yeshua took these 12 men unto himself, and he's teaching them. Because when he leaves, these 12 men are taking over, and when a teacher teaches his children, even in our public school system, the children should be able to come out of high school, go into the world, and be able to act as responsible adults, and they should have a good education. It's not happening, but Okay, I have Tila first.
Well, one of my translations, and I don't remember which one it is, but when he says, I came to, I did not come to abolish it, but I came to show you how to live it.
Oh,
I
That
have
is a
a
good one.
literal, one of my Bibles is
Yeah.
very literal. It says to show you how. I
Right.
don't know which translation it is, because I got a lot of different Bibles at home, but
That is to show you,
to show you.
but I every now and then, I go with my grandkids because I want them in, God bless one of my granddaughters. She has received salvation. She knows the Lord. And it was through a Christian congregation, but, I could sit there in that congregation, but there's a lot of things being said that I just cringe, come,
Be nice.
But Peggy always tells me, be nice. But because of that, I think that was an excellent way of putting it, to show.
I'll show you how.
Right, yeah. Okay, I had Gary first and then you, Maria.
No, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead, Maria.
The way I learned fulfill was that when I come to this the stop sign up here on the corner, I stop and I fulfill law. That does not mean that next Friday when I come up, that I can just go right by it.
Yeah.
The law is still there. I still have to fulfill it by stopping.
That's a
No
good
matter how
analogy.
many times I go.
Yeah. That's a good analogy. You must have learned that from Felicia.
I learned that.
No, that's very good because, like I said, I think all the years of being like in a Christian church and then becoming messianic, it seems like, your eyes open up and you learn this and our Torah was never done away with. It's still there. To me, it's still the rock of the book that we have. Otherwise, what are you going to do? Tear out 2/3 of it and throw it away? Forbid. No, we're learning, and let's continue to learn. And maybe when we go to be with the Lord, we'll be a little bit above, a little bit closer.
Again, it's instruction.
Instruction.
Yeah, Torah, instruction is
Yeah.
really, so it's not those.
Well, that's what I was telling you, the Greek and the Hebrew. In the Greek, it's law, but in Hebrew, Torah is instruction. Okay. Okay, our Lord is holy and he is requiring us to be holy. There is an emphasis on holiness in scriptures that begin with the account of Moses at the burning bush. There God told Moses, don't come any closer, take your sandals off of your feet, for the place you are standing on is holy ground. So we see that already the Lord is speaking of holiness there. He's, can dirt become holy? Well, it did. The verse gives us a clue to the meaning of holiness. Nothing could seem more common and less holy than ordinary dirt. But the Lord told Moses that the ordinary dirt on which he was standing was holy ground. Holy because of the presence of God. God is holy, and God's presence sanctifies, makes holy all that it touches, even the soil beneath Moses's feet. So you understand now, when this portion begins, he says, you are to be holy because I am holy. Even with the temple not being in Jerusalem, the temple now is right here. And if the Lord resides in us, then we need to be holy, so, and then we have the Hebrew word kadosh. Kadosh means holy. Let me see, in Roman numeral 1, letter A, it's a commandment for everyone, every man, woman, to be holy. Then the other thing I wanted to share with you, well, in letter B, the Perishable was transmitted to the entire nation. Here's a time, like I was telling you, when the 10 Commandments were given back in Exodus, he gathered all the people together, and the Lord was speaking to everyone, every man, woman, and child. In this Perishable, again, Moses is gathering all the people together, every man, woman, and child. So it's similar. There's other similarities here. Okay, and letter C, Torah is not too difficult for you, says Moses. And now we're in Roman numeral 2, kadosh, which equals holy. The Hebrew word kadosh means holy, that God has set aside a person or a thing for a holy purpose. Thus, the Sabbath is holy, okay, because God established the Sabbath as a day of rest and worship. Israel is holy because God chose Israel to be God's covenant people. The tabernacle and the temple, it says in the word, are holy because God set them aside as places for people to worship and to experience the presence of God. Priests are another one that's described as holy. The Levites are described as holy, and it's because they are set aside to service the people as well as the Lord. And what I say, if God can make dirt holy, he can certainly make a people holy. So I know I hear sometimes some people say that I'm not worthy. You don't know what I've done. You don't know my background, my history. I am not worthy. How could you say I'm holy? Well, I'm not saying you're holy. The Lord is saying you're holy. Go ahead, Bill.
Dirt is neither plain nor simple or a product of time and chance.
Mm-hmm.
So it's holy in a very real way. And I think some of the Indian cultures were in touch with that.
Right.
It was never meant that we're supposed to worship those things, but they are, for lack of a better word, they're almost magical.
Right.
And I think I talked about water a couple of weeks ago. If you take a drink of water doing the Baruch, you aren't thinking about that water. It's not,
Right.
there's no time and chance involved there. It's an incredible engineering.
Right.
And Sharon, we've been speculating that the universe is, see, it used to be easier because organic things, all life came from organic things,
Right.
because we didn't think there was ever a beginning. But now that there's no beginning, it's very difficult. That means there's no such thing as organic
Right.
initially.
Yeah.
So that these are very, it's holy.
Amen. Amen. You know, I don't know if any of you have been down to the Dead Sea. When you go down to the Dead Sea, you know, you've got people all over the place and they're picking up this dirt or this with mud and putting it all over them, then just sitting out there baking, you know. I went to the Dead Sea, but I did not bake in mud. But it's, you know, and you're right. Look at, what's the Naaman? With leprosy? Yeah. Yeah, he dipped 7 times, but then what did he do after he was healed?
One of them take dirt home.
He took dirt home. He took dirt from Israel, took it home, and every day he said he would get on his knees on this dirt and he would thank the Lord. And, you know, so you're right. So here in verse 2, he speaks to Moses and tells him to let the people know that because their God is holy, they must be holy. And throughout this chapter, like I said, the main theme of this chapter is holiness. Go ahead, Maria.
So how do you stay holy?
Follow God.
Yeah. Well, yeah, denying your flesh,
You're
but
not reading Leviticus 16. That's why we skipped it.
you know, and you know, walking with the Lord, you know, I don't know if it would have been easier back then than it is today, or if it's easier for us today than it would have been for them. Because you figure if the whole nation over 20 years old was destroyed in the desert, I mean, I don't know, when you talk about holiness, how do you stay holy? Because the Lord is right here saying that you must be holy because he is holy. And now in this chapter, he's giving us a lot of things on what will make us holy, do's and don'ts. But I'll tell you something. I'm surprised that when he gets into this, he doesn't talk about your relationship with me and then come to the Lord and or you know, giving instructions like what we have today when salvation, like a salvation scripture. There's nothing like that there. But with everything that we have here, all the 50 some commandments, you know, that in itself, if you can do those, you know, you are going to be much closer to the Lord than those obviously that aren't keeping Torah.
Then what about being clean and unclean?
Clean and unclean, you know, that's a whole different
That keeps you apart.
oh, that will, you know, and we are told there are some places where even today, Tila was sharing where it said something like you can eat clean and unclean animals, you know, and I know that in life, if your life depends on it, yeah, you can eat unclean because life is most important. But, you know,
It
Torah says,
supersedes.
you know, what's that?
Life supersedes.
Life supersedes, absolutely. And that's why,
Touching the corpse.
well, yeah, you're unclean until what, evening? Yeah.
That
Go ahead.
doesn't apply anymore?
No, that still applies. I don't think Torah has been done away with. I'm not a 21st century Christian pastor that believes that Torah has been done away with. Absolutely not. Now, are there things in Torah that we don't do? Well, yes, there are things, because for one thing, we don't have a temple anymore. and there's commandments that are temple dependent, you know, so there's commandments just for the Levites, commandments just for the women. So
279.
279 that were just for women,
Temple related.
temple related, yeah. Go ahead, Tila.
Look, when you take it one book, it's one book, okay? And
Yeah.
It's a journey. And so the history, you know, the Lord knew, he knew from the very beginning, he was gonna have to send his son. I really believe that.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
this is all,
Absolutely.
that's why we say, well, you know, could we have done it then? Well, we can only do what we can do, and,
Right.
you know, Yeshua said, I'm going away to send my helper. My helper is going to come.
Right.
Okay, so now we have the Holy Spirit. So the whole book is a journey, and it'll continue to be a journey as we go even further into, you know,
Right.
into the millennium and so forth, you know.
Well, that, and I think it's very important of being grafted in. Because even Yeshua himself, what did he say to the Samaritan woman? He said, I didn't come for you. I came for the lost sheep of Israel. Well, that would be, somebody would say, that'd be a slap in the face to all the Gentiles. Well, that's why, that's why the Gentiles are welcomed in as being grafted into Israel. It's always Israel. And then, you know, but then again, even when I read through chapter 19, there was a part there that I said that it talks about the alien. You are to treat the alien as native born. You know, that's like the adopted son. You might call him adopted, but the father doesn't say he's adopted. That's his son, you know, and a true mom and dad that has adopted children, that's exactly how they would look at their child as, this is my child. You know, knock off the adopted stuff because this is my child. Go ahead,
I
Tia.
don't know if you're gonna get into that, but as you were reading, that was the one thing that I starred because, you know, we are a nation and we have immigration laws, but we have people coming over. How are we to treat them? How are we to treat them? You know, the illegals that have not gone through citizenship, and yet we were all at one time illegal.
yeah.
And so it's a very difficult situation. That's why our heart has to stay right.
Yeah.
You know, would I treat somebody that, you know, I don't know if they're legal or unlegal, but would I treat them bad just because of what? Because they're sitting there in the street? No, you know, not if you want to be alive like Yeshua. You want to do exactly what he says to do, to
Right.
love that person.
To love the person. And even back in what the early 1900s, when the people were coming in to Ellis Island, there was a process there for them to become a citizen. Today, we have a process to become a citizen. But if somebody is here, I would never treat them, you know, with discontent or, you know, it's.
Let me see your card first.
Yeah. You know, it's, you know, the Lord says that, you know, we are to love our brothers as ourselves. In fact, that's in this Perishable. So we are, and what would the Lord do? Would he love the alien that's coming across the border? Yeah, yes, he would. Okay.
Salvation.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The only people that wouldn't share salvation with them are these Democrats that are that saying, yeah, come on across.
Yeah.
But, you know, yeah, because that's going to be their next voter base. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bill.
Well, you kind of swung back because the problem with this stuff is it's not a matter of, you know, of course you love all your fellow
Yeah,
people. The Chinese
yeah.
people I used to give rides to down in Irwin, just fantastic people. They're fun, they're upbeat. But society has to have order.
You got to have order.
I spend so much time on the freeways stopped. Okay, the freeways are full. Most of the cities are full in terms of septic, water. You know, you drive down side streets, they're full of parked cars. There's a reason for this, and this is why we have building safety. As much as I That's one group of people I probably don't love, but you know, they're off the charts, you know. But they're doing a job so that I don't have my neighbor's septic system
Yeah.
spilling into my yard and vice versa. And so this takes planning and looking ahead. You just can't all of a sudden dump a couple million people into a
Right.
system that's pretty well full.
Well, that's
Can it
why,
expand? Yeah, but it takes time.
yeah, you're right. It does take time, but that's why I like that plan from that governor, I think of Texas, who said that he's gonna load everybody on buses and take them up to Washington DC and drop them off. Yeah. They got more room up there. So, okay, let's move on. When the Lord came down on Mount Sinai, he spoke to the people directly, and that's in Exodus 20. Okay, he gave the people the 10 commandments. Here in this Perishable again, God speaks to the nation, all the men, women, and children. He's using Moses as the tool, but all the men, women, and children. Let me show you this. The Midrash says that the teaching method which Moses used during his lifetime, he would summon his brother Aaron, and he would teach him privately, just him and Aaron. What the Lord spoke to Moses, he would teach Aaron, and Aaron was taught was taught until he understood. After he understood everything, Aaron would take a seat to the left of Moses, and Moses would then summon Aaron's sons in their father, and then the father is present. Aaron is present, but again, Moses would teach what he taught to Aaron to his sons, and then this would go on after the sons learned. They would sit there, and then they would bring in the elders, and they would teach the elders. You remember when we read about how Jethro said, you know, gets men of renown or men to, okay, well, these are the elders. So then he would teach the elders. After the elders, then they would teach all the Hebrew men. But it was a procedure that Moses would use, and that's the way he would teach all these Perishables that we are reading. Except there's a couple of them, the one with the 10 commandments and this one where he bypassed all that and he just gathered all the people together. The Midrash says that Perishable Kedoshim was taught differently. God spoke to Moses and said to call all the people together and teach the Torah, this Torah portion to them. The 10 commandments were given to the nation as a whole. Here in this Perishable Kedoshim, it contains the same 10 commandments, but it's taught a little bit differently. But you will find them in your notes there if you want to write these down. You know, let's take a look at the 10 commandments and how they parallel in this Torah portion. What's that? Not yet, but you could have it now. Roman numeral 2a, a person or thing is only holy because of God's presence. I did? Okay. Roman numeral 3, the 10 commandments taught once again to the whole nation. And then in letter A, in chapter 19 and 20, all 10 commandments will appear somewhere, but in a different order. So the fill-ins are appear and different. Okay, let me move right along. Let's take a look at the 10 commandments and how they parallel in this Torah portion. What is the first commandment? I am the Lord your God. Okay, here in Kedoshim 19:3 and 19:4, we read at the end of each verse, I am the Lord your God. So we have the first commandment, okay? And the second commandment, you shall have no other gods. Well, in 19:3, it says, do not turn to idols or make for yourself molten gods. And all this so far is in this Perishable or this chapter 19. And then the third commandment is, you shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Now, if we go to 19:12, it says, and you shall not swear falsely by my name, so as to profane the name of your God. Moving right along, the fourth commandment, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Perishable Kedoshim 19:3 says, and you shall keep my Sabbath. Do you see how it's plural? How many Sabbaths are there? There are, huh? You've got if you got just a regular year, 52 Sabbaths. And then you've got the first and the last day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So you got 2 right there. Okay, you have Shavuot, which is a Sabbath. Then you got the Feast of Trumpets, which is a Sabbath. You have Yom Kippur, which is a Sabbath. Okay, in the Feast of Tabernacles, you have the first and the last day that are Sabbath. So if it doesn't fall on a Sabbath, if the holiday does not fall on a Sabbath, we could have about what, 59, 58, yeah, Sabbaths. But if it does fall on a Sabbath, well, then, they both are the same time. But you see here, it's plural, not plural in the sense that you are to keep my Sabbath, all the weekly Sabbath. You are to keep all his Sabbaths. Go ahead, Bill.
Just 2 comments. Dennis Prager was kind of talking about this, and he said, isn't it odd that God commanded us to love him? I think it kind of, it deals with his unapproachable. I mean, imagine you might give him a command to Sharon, love me. Yeah, right.
Isn't it?
No, there's something, he's unapproachable, he's scaring the heck out of him, and it's just interesting that he has to make a command to do that. And then the second command is, or the second comment is, when somebody hits their thumb with a hammer and they say, Jesus Christ, if they take the Lord's name in vain, not his name. Is it possibly protected his name through
a roundabout way?
Say Yeshua HaMashiach when they hit their thumb with a
I've
hammer.
never heard that.
I would
No.
say yes.
It's a question.
still are.
Yeah.
I would too. Later on, I'm going to cover something like that, where a roundabout way, the way the Jews try to get around something. But we'll hit that in a little bit. Go ahead, Gary.
I don't think taking his name in vain has anything to do with cussing or saying something when you hit your thumb with a hammer or anything like that. I think it is taking his name as identifying with him and then talking or behaving in contradiction to him.
Right.
Like if I say, like a con man, right? Con man comes in, they con you with whatever lies or whatever. They're representing a company,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And they sell you something and they cheat you out of your money. Okay, that's false representation.
Yeah.
They're taking that name of that business or whatever in vain. And that's
Yes.
how I kind of see it. That when a Christian, like a Joel
Yeah.
Osteen type.
You know what? And that's a good example. You're right. I think that there's preachers out there that take the Lord's name in vain.
Because it's really important, like the name, like
Yeah.
Hashem.
Right.
If I say I am in service to Hashem, if I am loyal, dedicated, I'm representative of Hashem, and yet the way I act, think, and behave is totally contradictory to that. That's taking the name in vain. I don't think, smashing
Yeah.
your thumb and saying this, that, or whatever
Yeah.
has anything to do with it.
Yeah.
Why can't you just say ouch?
I agree with you, Kathy.
I just don't say those.
Yowie,
God.
yowie. No, I agree with everything that you said, because there's other ways to take the Lord's name in vain.
There's better things to say, obviously.
Obviously,
Yeah.
why
I think
even
that-
go there?
Yeah,
Technically
Yeah.
is what taking the norm, name the Lord in vain
Yeah.
means.
oh, yeah, yeah. So was there anybody else? Go ahead, Bonnie.
So many other words, there's no reason to say this.
Well, what Bill said was interesting, that God commands us to love him. But I'm thinking maybe he said that because we live in a fallen world, and if we were to be left to our own devices, like Pastor said, we're wingnuts, we'd be all over the place.
Yeah.
The Torah gives us structure and order.
Well, look how much of wingnuts we were just this past weekend, We probably had, maybe half the congregation thinking that the the Feast of Unleavened Bread was over.
And that came up, Friday night. Friday night, there was, big discussion between Pastor. Bruce
I
and
should
Pastor Paul.
have been here.
Yeah, you should have been, you should have.
Yes, you should.
But, concerning this loving, the thing, but Yeshua said, if you love me, obey my commandments. And he put that little word, if
Yeah.
you love me, okay, well, if you love him, why wouldn't you want to
Yeah, you're
follow
right.
him? Why
You're right.
wouldn't you want to do
Yeah.
all that he's asked us to do? That's the
Yeah.
love affair that he's given us.
I'm
We
in.
still
I'm
live
in.
This sinful fallen body, like you
Yeah.
Yeah.
said, we have to die to self every day.
Yes, we do.
It's our
We do.
choice.
It's hard.
But it's our choice. If it wasn't our choice, then he would have a bunch of robots up there.
Yeah.
And how much fun is he gonna have with robots where the battery can run out? He'd rather have genuine people who love him.
Yes.
But he's right, love the Lord your God. Isn't that a gimme?
Yeah.
Like you said, why wouldn't you not want to love him? Go ahead, Gary.
Bottom line, talk is cheap. You
Yeah.
can say, I love you, I love you, I love you. Talk is cheap.
Yes.
But what real love is, it is an action. It is a demonstrative thing in the sense of what you do or do not do.
Right.
Like in a marriage relationship, okay? Lucy says she wants something, I do it.
Yeah.
All the time?
Yeah.
That's because you love her.
You love her though, yes.
You know how expensive she can be sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's my job. Yeah, that's my job. But I think a lot of Christians overlook that in the sense
Right.
that, well, I got my ticket to heaven, and I can sin like a sailor all I want because I'm good to go,
Yeah.
which is a bunch of crap. If you love somebody, it is a 24/7 relationship.
Right.
And it said, if you love me, keep my commandments. I
Yeah.
see Torah like the guardrails on a freeway. Those are your boundaries.
Right.
And I see when Yeshua came and the Holy Spirit came in Acts, it's kind of like the Holy Spirit is within those boundaries to more accurately guide us to where we're supposed to go. And I don't know about you, but there's times I've bounced off the guardrails,
Yeah.
And I think sometimes if you keep bouncing off the guardrails, sooner or later, God's gonna let you break through. And if you're coming up the mountain, you go over the cliff, it's a disaster.
Right.
The smart thing is not to bounce off those guardrails, but to be in that narrow center. What narrow is the way, narrow is the gate,
Yes,
blah, blah, blah,
narrows the
blah.
way. Few that we
Okay.
find it.
That's what those guardrails were initially for. And Yeshua, when he came to, I think when he said fulfill, I think I came to fulfill all of the previous things that were said about me, all of the prophecies that were said about me,
Yeah.
and to establish the new covenant, which goes on top of the old covenant. It doesn't
Right.
throw out the old covenant.
Exactly.
Okay, here's the old covenant, here's the new one on top of it.
Yeah.
It's more like an addition when you're doing legal stuff.
Well, and there's a lot of people who believe that the new covenant is the gospels. They don't realize a new covenant was back in Jeremiah. I'm gonna write my name upon your heart, that, so but that's a whole different study. Okay. I was speaking about the Sabbath, and in letter B, Leviticus 19:3, you shall keep my Sabbath. The Lord gave us more than just the weekly Sabbath. The fill-in is weekly. Okay, and then in the fifth commandment, did you want to say something?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. But the thing of it is that, and I really don't understand. I mean, I understand when people are sick or this and that. I am floored that people don't either come Friday night or go down to Redlands Saturday morning. I really don't understand, because that to me is one of the most important ones that we should be following,
Yes.
So why aren't all the seats filled on Friday night or Saturday morning? Either one. I mean, in fact, you can do them both, but to do one,
Yeah.
I mean, it's the only thing you ask. And I understand when someone's sick, I know, that, but if you're well, just because it's cold outside, why can't you still put an extra jacket on and come anyway and be in fellowship with the Father?
Tila.
Priorities.
Yeah, priorities. Well, priorities better get straight pretty soon.
Miss Tila,
He's coming.
you are feeling the pastor's heart. We all say the same thing, yeah, come on. I could, and then I'll tell you one thing, if you can't make the Sabbath Friday or Saturday, but because you're sick or whatever, and you Zoom in or YouTube, okay, that's great too. At least you're observing the Sabbath, because that's what we're told to do. Well, even it's not the best way. I wouldn't say that's the best way, but now I'll tell you, if you're doing that and saying, I don't want to come in, I'd rather just Zoom it. Well, then there's something wrong with your thinking.
Yeah.
We are,
Yes,
you are
yes,
forsaking the fellowship of the saints.
Just
Hey,
real quick before Gary speaks.
yes.
A comment to you from Debbie McMahon. Amen, Tila.
Okay. Thank you, Debbie. Go ahead, Gary.
As far as Zoom is concerned, it's gone from a convenience
Yeah.
to a
You got
curse.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, I couldn't find anything that says, whenever two or more of you are gathered on Zoom, I'm gonna be there.
I'm looking, I don't find it either. I don't know if you guys heard that. There's nothing on Zoom that says when two or more of you appear together on Zoom, I am there with you. So, but you're absolutely right. I looked at it as a benefit first, but then the benefit, but because of COVID, and then the benefit became more of a convenience. Yeah. Yeah.
COVID, Zoom, convenience.
Yeah.
More COVID, but we still do Zoom.
We still do it. And there are people that will not come back. They will not come back. When Pastor Bruce shared with you that about 50% of the congregation that left during COVID are not coming back, he's absolutely right. Fortunately, in our congregation, the numbers are up there. It's not the 55%, but when you talk to a lot of these Christian congregations, that's what's happening. I know that there's a congregation that is just booming over in Chino Hills, and the reason is because they kept their doors open during COVID, and people, they wanted to fellowship. And if they can't fellowship with their own congregation, well, they're going to go somewhere else. I had somebody else over here first, Maria. Okay.
That's like Peter saying, well, I didn't go to the crucifixion because I watched it on Zoom.
What if Yeshua stayed home to watch it on Zoom?
Oh, my God.
I'll say this,
This group, people.
I don't want to sound like I'm defending my poor attendance, so I'll say this as a matter of encouragement to the pastors. It's also difficult. We used to go to church in Vermont,
Yeah,
and the pastor said 2/3 of the congregation isn't here in the summertime. And I said, Pastor, there's 300 people in your congregation, and there's 6 weeks of summer. So do
Yeah.
the math. you
Yeah.
know? So sometimes, and then beyond that, I'm sorry, but not all my sin is my fault. I'm living within a culture that if I'm gonna live in a house, I have to go into debt.
Yeah.
That's really not
yeah,
God's first choice.
that's
you
not,
know? And
that
we
is
got-
not.
We got at least 3 truck drivers.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
I find myself driving too quite often where
Yeah.
I can't get back or. So
You're in
it's-
sin.
Peggy is beating
There
up
is.
on Bill, Sharon.
If somebody's staying home and watching TV on Friday night, that's one thing, but
Yeah,
we live in a complicated life. We got.
Yeah.
In the old days, family and church,
yeah,
in the old days, families and church wasn't spread out all over the place either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even with us, we're talking about getting together to help each other in emergencies. Well, yeah, that sounds good, but if I don't have gas, it can take me a day to walk to your house.
yeah.
So.
No, I agree with you. I think what we're looking at here with what everybody's would agree upon, it's that, what are you doing in your heart? Are you missing, the service? You could be here, but you're missing it because of convenience. You could Zoom it or whatever. If, and then if you're working, I'm gonna say, you gotta feed your family. You gotta pay the bills, but you also have to be in, on Shabbat, be the fellowship. That's why it says, do not forsake the fellowship of the saints. So go ahead. Who was first, Bonnie or Lucy? Go ahead, Lucy.
I think you're right, Pastor Vince. It's all in how people use Zoom.
Yeah.
If they use it correctly, it's for someone that's sick or homebound. Yes. Or has extreme difficulty, circumstances. But when it crosses over to people that really could have been here.
They're just lazy.
Yeah.
Use the microphone. When people use it as just pure convenience, it's a little cold outside, I'm gonna just get my jammies on and get a blanket and watch it here.
Yeah.
I think it's all how you use it.
Yeah.
It's not a black and white thing, but I totally prefer in person, of course.
Oh, I do. I enjoy getting the hugs and the saying the hellos and how are you doing? And and well, and you know what I really enjoy on Shabbat is the worship. I do enjoy the worship. No, is it really lousy? Yeah.
I watched it on Zoom and I went to sleep after.
Did you? No. Go ahead, Bonnie, and then we'll move on.
I totally agree with you when you say, you have to feed your family. However, we have a God that gives us our heart's desires. Back before I got the job with the county, I was out of work and I told the Lord, please give me a job Monday through Friday, weekends and holidays off so I could come to Shabbat.
Yeah.
Well, when I got my first job offer, I was working on the weekends and I was so desperate for work that I took the first thing offered. I didn't know that there was a different process in the county. You turn this one down, you could get another one. So when I prayed for my next job, that's what I asked.
Right.
Please give me a job where I'm working, just the weekends, or if not that, give me a job where I can at least have the Shabbat off.
Right.
He gives us the desires of our heart, but I totally understand what you're saying about we have to work.
Yeah. Oh, I remember Bonnie when she was hired by the county, and we were in agreement in prayer that she would get a position where she can be here on the Sabbath. Go ahead, and then we'll move on.
This is a question. It's not to antagonize certain people.
Get ready, people. She's going to antagonize us.
Tell Bill When Yeshua started his commission and he went to the apostles that were fishing and he said, follow me, did they say, oh, well, wait a second, who's going to feed my family? Didn't they just drop the nets and went?
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
I'm not one of those 12.
He's not he's the 13th apostle.
Okay, you guys, who wants to say something? I could hear you, hon.
Oh, you can, so that it doesn't matter.
No, put it, but speak into it.
I am, but it's not, there's no green light. But anyway, I was just gonna say, wait. Thank you, Bill. I was just gonna say, a lot of us before, I'll just say BC days, okay, we had these jobs. And then we come to the Lord and we still have those jobs and they don't always work out. And I'm saying this because my husband for years worked nights and he was never able to be here on Friday nights for a long time. And he faithfully called me every Friday night. How did it go? Please say hello to so-and-so. Please tell everybody I would miss them. I wish I could be there. And our prayer was that he would get a job that would take him away from nights. And God answered the prayer. But it's unfortunate because before you come to the Lord, you have these jobs already. You're not even thinking about, I need a job so I could make it on Shabbat. You just want a job. Unfortunately, we think that way.
Right.
It shouldn't be that way, but in this day and age, I don't even like remember back in the days when everything was closed on Sunday?
Yeah.
It's not that way anymore, and it's sad.
No, you're absolutely right. Well, wait a minute. I was gonna share. Just yeah.
I'm glad I was raised Seventh-day Adventist. It's always been on Saturday.
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
There was a gentleman in our congregation who was a policeman,
Mhm.
18 years. And when he became an Adventist and he asked for Sabbath off, they said, no, he quit. He quit. Right before his retirement, he quit. Now, whether he was right or he was wrong, I don't know. But I always remember this gentleman that he went all these years
Right.
working. And when the thing came down to the Sabbath, he said, I'll take the Sabbath over my job.
I just,
I could do that.
I just want to share with you too, that it wouldn't have been my way of doing it, obviously, but it was God's way. The way he got me out of that job is I got fired. They called me in I was let go. Here I am, I'm the supervisor in the whole place. And they call me in, the general manager calls me in to say my job has been eliminated. Now, how could you eliminate a position of the person that's running the place? So all it was is 2 weeks later, they posted it on some website that they had an opening for a supervisor at this particular plant. So, but that was it. In other words, the Lord pulled me out of there. And like I said, I wouldn't have picked that route. But then what happened is then I got hired on with the county, Monday through Friday, weekends off. And I thought, oh my God, having dinner with my wife every night. Praise God, So God's way is wonderful. Who are you? Okay, you guys. The fifth commandment, honor your father and your mother. Okay, in verse 19:3, it says, every one of you shall revere his mother and his father. Okay, the sixth commandment, you shall not murder. In 19:16, you shall not jeopardize the life of your neighbor. Okay, I'll stop there because Gary has a comment.
It says honor your mother and father, right?
Yes,
It doesn't say honor your mother and mother or father and father.
you are right.
And that's exactly what I say.
Yeah.
Amen, amen.
Yeah, no, Peggy will share that because our state has really gone ballistic on all this evilness, this stupidness,
Yeah.
so go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, someone shared yesterday, and I agree that I was once a man trapped in a woman's body. And then she gave birth.
Yeah. I saw that cartoon, that was good.
Oh, did they? Okay, everyone, after that comment, let's just move along. The seventh commandment is you shall not commit adultery. And in chapter 20:10, we read the adulterer and the adulteress must be put to death. The eighth commandment, you shall not steal. Well, if we look in chapter 19:11, it says, you shall not steal. And commandment number 9 is you shall not bear false witness against your fellow men. In 19:16, it says, you shall not go about as a slanderer among your people. Commandment number 10 is you shall not covet. Likewise, in 19:18, it says, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. And so if you see in this Perishable, you are gonna, the 10 commandments are front and center. They are there, just going a different way about them. But one thing I want to share too is even here in chapter 19, when we read it, it's talking about the people. It says the people, but yet, if you get into some of these rabbis, they'll tell you the Jewish people, the Jews, it doesn't say that. It says his people. And at this point in time, there was still a mixed multitude. Okay, so just as the Lord God set his people apart in Exodus 20, he again speaks to the people, giving his commands, letting them know that they are holy, a set apart people. Can anyone keep God's commandments? The answer is yes. It may be hard, but as Moses said, we can do it. Okay, he says, you can do it. Okay. We won't be able to go through all the commandments in this Perishable, all 50 some commandments. But I just want to address at least a few of them. Chapter 19, verse 19. You are to keep my statutes. You shall not crossbreed two kinds of your cattle. You shall not sow your field with two kinds of seed, nor wear a garment of two kinds of material mixed together. These 3 commands have the same general thought behind them. The one regarding clothes is easiest to illustrate. It's easier to illustrate this principle. The specific application involves linen and wool. And Israel was not to mix the fibers from a vegetable product and an animal product into the same piece of material. It expands in its practical application when we understand that mixing animal and vegetable fibers make poor quality material. So you might say, well, why do you want to wear poor quality material? But the rule against wearing different types of fabric was not a moral law. There is really nothing wrong with weaving linen and wool together. In fact, the ephod of the high priest was made of linen and dyed thread. Okay, and you'll find that in Exodus 28:6 and 39:4, verse 4. The dye thread would have been made of wool. This fact is probably the key to understanding the prohibition, and that's what the rabbis say. The ephod of the high priest was the only garment that could be woven of linen and wool. No one else was allowed to have such a garment. Apparently, this rule was to place some distance between the high priest and the people. The priests were the only ones that were allowed to mix linen and wool. The people were not allowed. So, and sometimes I think about it. I mean, sometimes we say, your clothes, what kind of t-shirt is that? 50-50? 100% cotton, I'm not, and then when you get into seeds and to mixed breeds, I don't, I've never done anything like that. So it's like something that's just out there. I'll leave that for other people to decide. But the problem is the Lord puts it right here, things that you are not to do. Our Lord did a very good job with all of his creation. Dogs are dogs, cats are cats. He doesn't need our help making hybrids of any animal. Okay. Women are women, men are men. Yeah. Go ahead, Bonnie.
We may not understand all of the rules and, statutes that God put into place, but we all know that he put them in a place for a reason. And the only reason I'm saying this is because men are doing some ridiculously insane things, like mating a tiger and a lion together for a liger. You're ending up with a cat that's actually over 1,000 pounds. That doesn't exist out in the wild. And how do we know that this mixture one day isn't just gonna snap? And then you've got over 1,000-pound cat on the loose.
Yeah.
There's a reason God put these things into place. And even though we don't understand them, I'm thinking we're supposed to trust his word and then just go about our day.
And you're right. And I read somewhere where hybrids, if you do something like that and there is an offspring, that offspring cannot reproduce. That's, but all told, the Torah lists the following general prohibitions. Don't crossbreed animals, not to plant various plant species together, not to wear a garment with linen and wool, and do not use two species of animal to plow together. So and then there's a word there that's used, kiliayim. Let me see if I put that in my notes, my fill-ins here. No, I didn't. Okay, kiliayim, if you want to look it up, it's spelled Kilayim. And it's a rare word appearing in the Torah only in this context of these prohibitions. So how does this word come to mean mixture? And it says the root word K, L, and A is used elsewhere in scripture to denote being held back or arrested. At times it's also been related to cease or expired. But then according to one of the Jewish writings or the books, Zohar, among other texts, explains the kilayim to mean entrapments. Since two species are being forced to be together, that is why the word can also mean entrapment, because they're being forced together. But I'll tell you this, at the end of 6 days of creation, the Torah says this in Genesis 1:31. And God saw whatever he had made, and behold, it was very good. This implies by mixing, we are acting against God's will. Are people going to continue to mix? Absolutely. But I think God's people, we need to refrain from this. Go ahead, Bill.
Is Sharon on?
Oh, I didn't notice. Sharon, are you on?
Oh,
Oh,
I was just gonna say, I love my linen underwear that Sharon makes me wear. She's not on.
TMI, Bill, TMI.
Thank you for sharing that, Bill. Okay, and letter C, I'm going to give it to you right now. Letter C. It's all numbers. 51 commandments in this Perishable. 13 positive and 38 negatives. I call this the do's and the don'ts. 51, 13, and 38. And letter D, do not crossbreed. Sow different kinds of seed or mixed materials. So the fill-ins are not and mix. Okay, now we are going to get a little further. Okay, what I found interesting about, this is what I was going to share earlier, but what I found interesting about this, the breeding together, the mixing and like that, that the Jew, it is noted that the Jew is not permitted to hire a Gentile to do any of these. They are not permitted to hire a Gentile to do any of this for them. So if they said that, hey, I want to put 2 different types of seed in there, but I can't do it, so you go ahead and do it. They are not required to do that. The Jew would carry this sin upon himself. But then again, isn't it hypocritical that a Jew can have a Gentile hold on to his leavened products during Passover or sell their items on Shabbat, and then buy them back after it's over, and they walk away, and I'm talking about selling their items on Shabbat like books and shirts or whatever it may be. Then they walk away feeling that they have done nothing wrong. It's very hypocritical. To me, I shared this many Torah studies ago, and I said, who is guilty? The Jew that is hiring or having a Gentile do it for him, or the Gentile who's doing it? They both are.
So
Yeah.
going out to lunch on the Sabbath, huh?
You're right. You're right. Yeah. I know we talk about the essence, yeah, you're right. I think
they're
there,
judgmental.
no, you can
There's
be.
a lot of disagreement on that.
You can be. There is a lot of disagreement. But then again, we used to have a couple that would drive out from Irvine all the way out to Redlands when we were on Lagonia. They were part of our congregation for years. They wouldn't even, if you offered to take them out to have lunch afterwards, they would not go. You cannot do that. But they'll drive.
Right.
No, they weren't Adventists. But they would drive all the way out from Irvine, and that's longer than the day's walk that is prescribed in, that the rabbis talk about. But then we find out later on that they don't drive out to our congregation anymore because of that. But now they drive into Los Angeles to go to service. So what's the difference? Exactly. But there's things there. But like I said, I just think that there's some hypocrisy here when we talk about things that they will do and things that they won't do, but they think they're squeaky clean because, hey, I didn't sell my products on the Shabbat. This dumb Gentile did it for me, I think he's breaking it. Absolutely, he broke it. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Okay, Kathy was going to say something. You have the microphone, Kathy?
No,
Bill's hogging it.
What they need to do is what I do. 2-3 weeks before Passover, you eat all of your wheat products. So when Passover comes, there's not a thing left in your house.
No, amen. You know what? And that is right. I think it's a lot easier for a single person or even a husband and wife that are at home, let's say by themselves. It's very difficult for a family, because I know Peggy and I, we wipe out all the leaven. But then here it is during the Feast of Unleavened Bread, my grandkids walk in with donuts and and their bread so they can make their sandwiches and, and it's like,
That's true.
oh, okay. Go ahead,
I just
Peggy.
want to go back a bit when you were talking about, I think they were talking about the male, female, or
Yeah.
something like that. Okay, I don't know if anyone read the article recently about the 2 women inmates who were impregnated. And so they're asking for the biologist to explain how 2 women can have a relation and one got pregnant because the other woman was trans and he was a she. And so because of the laws now, if they want to be with the women prison, so now they're saying, explain the biology. If this is a
Yeah.
woman, how can a woman impregnate another woman?
Exactly. You can't. Only in California. And I don't know where it happened, but I'm just saying, because Peggy was just sharing with me today, something that was going on in Texas. And I thought, oh my gosh,
It's Florida.
but I DeSantis, I'm glad with what he's doing with Disney, praise God.
What's going on? Now I feel like I'm being like Bill. In Florida, you can.
I brought a bunch of gifts. But I'm not giving them to you all.
Thanks, Bill. In Florida, you can now buy with your palm.
No, you're telling me Texas,
No, it's Florida.
Florida, okay.
You can buy, you can just show your palm.
You can show your
and it
palm,
generates the receipt and the purchase and whatnot.
yeah,
So I was telling Vince, here in California, we got all this wickedness with the, whatever you want to call it, going on. But then you have Florida, who is doing the other thing of wickedness with Satan, buying and selling with,
right.
I know that's not here yet, but this is. There you go. It's a process and it's happening.
Oh, it's happening.
We
even-
got all the
yeah.
evilness here in California doing, you can be this and that and, killing babies and whatnot. And in Florida, they're buying and selling with their palm.
Next thing you know, it's gonna be bad.
That's right. It will.
Well,
be.
the
the forest.
pandemic, a lot of this, it's just, like you said, it's just getting us accustomed so then they can bring in exactly what they really want. And it's more and more evilness. So, but, okay, in the previous chapter, where did I leave off? Okay, in the previous chapter, God tells us not to be like the other nations. So remember that. We are told, in fact, even here, we are to be holy because our Lord is holy. And we are told, you are not to be like the other nations. So here we are being given many commandments and told not to do these things that the nations are doing. So when we read in Leviticus 19:28, the answer is no. You are not allowed to put tattoos on your body. I realize this is tough for some, but the words used here and only here in Leviticus 19:28, it says explicitly, do not cut and add ink into your skin. This is a common practice of the nations. Maimonides clearly sees the origin of this prohibition as an act of idolatry. Okay. The nations surrounding Israel all had tattoos, especially in Egypt. That doesn't make it right. God pulled his people out of Egypt, so why go back? In letter E, God don't like tattoos. So, and I get that a lot. In fact, I heard a Christian pastor say that we are of the new covenant. So that is the old covenant. We don't have to follow that. So, so yes, you can have tattoos, and what I tell people who do have tattoos is no more. It's just like, you know, the sin that we always will bring it before the Lord and said, cleanse me of this wickedness that I'm in, or the sin that I am in. You know, I just say, you know, go before the Lord and, okay, you know, now, and then from this point on, no more.
I just have a little funny confession to make, because when we were in Calamasa,
Uh-huh.
we were talking about the same thing, and at that particular time, I kind of knew where this was, but I didn't know exactly where it was.
Right.
And I was all set to go get my tiger on my back, and Pastor Bruce specifically stated this verse. And I looked at him and said, why do you tell me that? Now I'm accountable. He just laughed at me.
Yeah.
But, you know, what,
Peggy
the
Sue.
guy that you were just talking about?
Yeah.
I'm not sure the verse, but I think it's in Hebrews. It says something to the effect, God's word is the same yesterday, today, and forever.
Yeah.
So this pastor is basically saying, you know,
His
he's
word.
discounting God's word.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Like you said, if you don't know, but once you do know,
Yeah.
you got to go forward from there. So I won't be getting my tiger.
Well, you know, in Hebrews, there's a lot of people who think that the Christian church was already established. But you have to realize that even the whole, what the Christian church calls the New Testament, even the whole New Testament was in a time when all they had was Torah. The books weren't even canonized till about 230 years after the death of Yeshua. So everything that went on, it was strictly Torah at that time, you know. So the Apostle Paul never opened up a Bible and said, okay, let's read First Thessalonian or anything like that. So you know, and that's one thing they don't understand. Thank you, gorgeous.
My youngest daughter had a tattoo put on, a great big sun on her back when she was like 18 or 19, when she could do what she do. And then when she gave her heart to the Lord, she went 6 times, and this was a big sun colored tattoo on her back. And she's gone 6 times after she read that scripture, 6 times to get that thing taken off. And it's still very faint, but it's still there. She goes, but Mom, I tried.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, conviction does come. And then you have others that say, well, you know, it's no big deal. I'm gonna go ahead and do it anyway. You know, it's a cross, or it's a Star of David, or, you know, it's this or that.
Oh, I'm telling you, I've shared the story about my.
She got rid of her piercings and she wants to get rid of the tattoo.
That's the one that came to the Lord.
Right.
Yeah, she understands this now too, but I've shared with you, I have a sister, who would be a sister. And what she did is she has the Lord's name tattooed right below her neck. And she was wearing a blouse, like a low cut blouse, and you could see it. And I said, oh my gosh. She goes, oh, do you know what that means? I said, yeah, that's the Lord's name. I said, but I'm just going to tell you, if you ever visit Israel, cover it up. Well, why would I want to cover it up? I said, because you're going to offend 2 people. You're going to offend the Jews because you do not tattoo his name on your body. I said, and you're also going to offend the Muslims because they are not going to like that, and they will not let you go anywhere that is Muslim controlled. I said, so you would have to,
Where did we go?
the Temple Mount. Yeah. I said, so you can't, I said, so, you know, I'm sorry to tell you that, but you don't do that, you know, but she's got his name right there. Go ahead, Maria.
It doesn't matter. Justin Bieber has
Oh,
the
yeah.
name of Yeshua in Hebrew tattooed on his side.
Yeah.
So if he can do it, can you imagine the Christian doing it?
Yeah. Well, you know what? We talked about this earlier, using the Lord's name in vain. You know, there's another example of using the Lord's name in vain,
He
you know.
used the correct name.
Yeah. So, okay, everybody, in Leviticus 19:23, the law of not eating the fruit from a newly planted tree. For the first 3 years, the fruit of the tree is orlah. Orlah means closed off, okay, implying that it is forbidden. This law is also enforced outside of Israel. This is one of those laws that everyone would say, oh, that's only in the land of Israel. No, it's also enforced outside the land, according to the rabbis, okay? The fruit of the 4th year is considered holy and may only be consumed under special conditions. I know we've read here where it's not until the 5th year, but they say in the 4th year that only the owner and his family may eat of it, and only in Jerusalem, and it's only after an offering where the offering would be made, and then now the family can eat of it. But finally, in the 5th year, the owner and his family would benefit from the full harvest of the tree. So in letter F, must wait 5 years to fully enjoy the fruit from the tree. I don't know about you, but I grew up near some orange groves, and man, I'd get in those trees and get oranges off and open them up and eat them. I had no clue how old those trees were. And I did at that time, I didn't, even apples. I remember somebody planting an apple tree. And if you have ever tried to eat fruit from an apple tree after like its first harvest or second harvest, they're not good at all. They're small, they're terrible tasting, but that was way back when I never even knew anything about this. The church, when I was a child, church didn't teach this,
Yeah.
So
It's really kind of funny because certain things, pop out in the word.
yeah,
And I had 2 cherry trees on my patio, and I think they were 2 or 3 years old when I potted them. They're in the big pots, and I read this, okay, and I knew it couldn't. So the birds enjoyed it. There was fruit, and now those cherry trees, I get whole big bowls of cherries, and now I can enjoy them, and they're very good. But the birds for the first few years,
yeah.
I ate it.
That was left for the birds. Yeah. So it's so let me just go on. I said that only the owner would benefit from the tree. It's after the 5th year. Okay, in verse 27, you shall not round off the hairline of your heads, nor trim the edges of your beard. One thing I heard about this command is they say it's only for the Jews. Do I need to remind everybody again that there was a mixed multitude there, and it doesn't say only the Jewish men, okay? It's the people. These are laws for you. When Moses spoke these words to the people from God, it was for everyone. It was a simple command that should have been simply obeyed by all the people. The chapter starts with the words, "Be holy because I, the Lord your God, am holy." Everything that follows is considered by him as falling into the category of ways to be holy. The issue is not of fashion with the taking off the beard or shaving like that, but it's mostly of identification as God's people. And what I found out, that this was a pagan practice at the time that God said, don't do it, that the pagans would scrape themselves or round off. The rabbis say this practice of rounding off and cutting the sides was connected with sorcery. The ritual was to scar the forehead and the sides of the scalp. I do have a brother in this congregation that he has, it's wonderful that he's doing this. He grew his beard. After he read this, he decided he was not going to shave. It's basically the sideburns, the area. And so he's got a full beard now and everything. And, you know, I keep thinking, boy, when am I going to start doing that?
Is
Just,
that where the curl
you know,
comes from?
well, that's because, yeah, you don't touch it. So yes,
Curl.
yeah, and the curl. And I tell people that, you know, the Jews missed his first coming. When the Lord returns, he may come back and he may have the curls. And it may be the Christians that are going to miss his second coming. So, I mean, it's just a thought. Okay, go ahead, Lucy.
I'm unclear how this exactly looks. Like I read it, is it ever clarified or is it kind of
Yes,
like a fuzzy
what-
understanding?
No, what it is, it's clarified that you are not to take a razor and scrape the sides of the sideburns, the side here.
That's all.
And that's it. You're not supposed to scrape them. That was a pagan practice many years ago that they would do that, scrape their heads and in Egypt and, you know, and what he's doing here, as we see in this Perishable, he's telling the people, these are things that the nations do, don't do them.
So you just let all the hair.
You
grow,
let the hair grow.
everything.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it was a Middle East, no, but in the Middle East, it was a posture or a picture of it was like the women, they say your hair is your covering or your adorns you. It's beautiful. It's the same thing for the men with their beards, you know? Yeah. I'll be honest with you. What I would like to do is if I don't do that, I would keep it trimmed. I wouldn't put a razor to it, but I would just keep it trimmed because I'm not a big beard person. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but look at, you know, I admire Doug for doing this. You know, Doug has he's got a long beard, and it's because of this verse here. He will not put a razor. So go ahead, Bonnie.
I honestly didn't understand this verse until I saw the movie 300. And I
Uh-huh.
looked at Leonidas as like, okay, now I know what they're talking about. Because if you notice his beard in that movie, it was perfectly straight down and like, I don't know how you describe it, cut at the ends, but it was definitely opposite of what God's word is saying. And I didn't understand it until I saw that.
Right.
That's what the pagans were doing.
Yeah. Go ahead, Maria.
A word for the pagans. You know, the one, hooray for the pagans.
She looked at you, Bill.
One of the reasons I know the Egyptians would scrape all their hairs off was because of lice. They were infested with it, so the less hair they had, the better it was for them. And from what I understand, Yeshua did not have a long hair and long beard, because I know he had a beard, but there was a lot of unwashed people and a lot of bugs and lice going around. So I don't know about, you know, one of the rabbis, I would take this verse out because you men really do not look that cute.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I think Yul Brenner looked good without any hair. You know?
Oh, yes.
He made a great pharaoh. See, Felicia doesn't even know what we're talking about. She's too young. I think we're aging ourselves, you guys.
We're old.
We're old, and I didn't see any of you standing up when the men walked in. Okay, Leviticus 19, verse 31. Do not turn to mediums or spiritists, Do not seek them out to be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God. You might say, we already know about this, and we know this is an abomination to our Lord. And I know you would be right. But how many of you think it's okay to look at your horoscope every day? Or when you have a Chinese food, you grab that fortune cookie and open it up, okay, and look inside. Or how about fortune tellers? You know, because fortune tellers are a no-no. We serve a holy God, and we are to be holy. We don't need this. I share the story of when I was at our work, when I was working at a steel mill, the company bought us Chinese food. So they had it all out there and everything. They had all the fortune cookies there. And I like the way fortune cookies taste. So after I ate my meal, I got the fortune cookie. I opened it up. I got the paper inside. I threw it in the trash, and the girl said, "Wait, what are you doing? What are you doing?" You know, I said, "I don't need that stuff. I don't believe in that." I said, "I like the cookie." "Oh, give it to me then." You know, and, well, take it. You know, but you know, yeah. But it's no, I'm like you guys. If you have a fortune cookie, I don't know if you like the way they taste. I do. I like the way a fortune cookie tastes, but I don't read the fortunes, you know. And like I said, we serve a holy God. So in letter G, okay, in letter G, prohibitions against any type of sorcery, no dabbing. Did I put tabbing? No dabbing, everybody. Change it. No, yeah, no dabbing. In other words, no just, well, it's innocent. Yeah. I'll just do dabbling.
Dabbling.
No dabbling.
The first church that I went,
No dabbling, everybody.
the first church that I belonged to had a rummage sale. And Carol and I we were in charge of selling and so forth. And we're going through the stuff. There were three Ouija boards in all this stuff. And I said, wait a minute. I said, we got to toss that stuff. And do you know, I mean, the pastor's long been gone, so I'm not, you know, putting him down. But he goes, oh no, he goes, I know people will buy those. And I said, are you kidding? I said, we can't play. You do not be involved with Ouija boards. And so I took a hammer and I busted them up and threw them in the trash.
Yeah.
Because they shouldn't have that. But young kids go with a lot of this stuff. Also with that, there's a game, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of kids get involved with this junk.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's the first step down to the dark side of the forest. That's right.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Praise God, you know. And how many of us went through our closets when we came to the Lord and we got rid of a lot of the stuff, you know? And that's a problem. There are some in our, you know, that are still in the church in general, that they come to the Lord, they receive salvation, but, oh, I can't get rid of that crystal. That crystal was given to me by my great grandmother, and you know, and yeah, yeah, exactly. So, this keepsake is, you know, how are you going to be holy when the Lord says, you know, you don't do this, you know? Go ahead, Lucy.
And how smart the enemy is when he carefully makes a lot of this stuff like entertainment.
Yeah.
Like people that go to haunted houses and they look for the orbs and you know, everyone's supposed to believe and see if they can see something, but it's under the guise of entertainment.
Entertainment. You're right. You're right. I think Disney does that.
Oh.
They, you know, yeah, you're right. They are now rotten to the core. Yeah. You know, I think Mr. Disney is rolling in his grave. I also think John Kennedy is rolling in his grave, because it's not the same Democratic Party that it was back in the early 60s. It's a different party. Go ahead, Peggy.
Frank has a.
Oh, Frank has something to say. Frank, unmute yourself.
Disney was deep in the Mason.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, can you hear me?
Put them louder, hon.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Frank.
1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. A lot of these statutes or commandments that you're going over maybe aren't really practical for today.
Yes, they are.
Yes, they are.
I mean, it's like the one, the one in Deuteronomy 23 verse 1, about this, about your private parts being mutilated and you can't be part of the assembly. What does that actually mean?
But what it does mean, Frank, is that the temple is holy ground. And everything that went on the temple had to be perfect. Not only even man and beast. If it had a blemish, if your animal had a blemish, it wasn't accepted as a sacrifice. It had to be a perfect sacrifice. So what it's talking about is if a person had some kind of deformity, he could not work on the temple grounds. The rabbis say that there was other positions for them, but not on the temple grounds. And that's what that scripture is talking about.
Okay, because it says into the assembly of God. It seems like a vague term if you're speaking directly of the temple.
And you're right, because this doesn't apply to us today because there is no temple.
Right.
But if the temple comes back, well, the temple is right here within us, so,
Exactly.
but the physical temple, this would not work until the third temple is built by our Mashiach.
But that's why you're not supposed to.
And there's one more.
Yeah, do not mutilate your body, exactly.
There's one more word. Oh, it's back in Leviticus 23. There's one more. The word is A-U-B-U-R-Y or something like that. Let me get to it.
You said Leviticus 23?
Yeah, Leviticus 23, where we were. Isn't that where we've been at? Yeah. And,
No, we are in Leviticus 19 and 20.
oh, okay. Let me go back to that one. Leviticus 19.
No wonder you're having a trouble with this Perishable, Frank.
Yeah, no, I was on the correct when I read it. And it was 20, the word is, I just don't understand what it means. I'll
Okay,
find,
chapter 19 or 20.
chapter 19, and one of the, in 21, 22, or 23, AU, there it is, A 26. You shall not eat anything with the blood, neither shall you use enchantment, nor practice augury. I don't know, what does that word mean?
It's sorcery. We're not supposed to be in any type of idol worship, idol practice, and having a sorcerer in our midst, a soothsayer. That's what it's talking about, that this is an abomination to the Lord.
So that's what that
In
word.
fact, when you do something like this, we're going to read further, and I think it's in chapter 20, where it says that the guilty parties are to be put to death. We were supposed to be stoned. That's how bad this is. And really what you're doing, Frank, the people would be, if they were in this practice, what they're doing is they're putting something above them other than God. They're putting all their trust into this divination or these practices. And like I said earlier about the nations, what they're doing is they're going back to Egypt. They're taking themselves, maybe not physically, but in their understanding, there's stuff in Egypt that they miss and they want to go back to it. So he's saying, don't do this. And that's what that verse is talking about.
Okay, one last question.
Thank you, Frank. Go ahead, Maria.
doesn't God give us some things for healing, like herbs, and Satan has taken these things and perverted it, like some of these stones that you could use for healing, that we've taken it to a different level, like wishing, that rod, the wishing rod that looks for water, is that
I don't know.
sorcery, or is
I don't
that
think
from
that's,
God?
no, I don't think that's sorcery, because there's something there that when they go out, they can find
It
where,
points down
yeah,
to
where the water is,
So that-
exactly.
That comes from God,
I,
just like some stones that you can use, because the priest had stones
Yeah.
that he relied on.
yep, you're absolutely right.
So
Yeah.
that can't be too bad, like diamonds.
I think
Peggy,
the
you
thing that we-
you didn't hear that.
Pastor Vince, I think the thing that we have to understand is God has given us a lot of good things. I'm gonna take the family as an example. God is the one that created the family.
Yes,
Satan hates whatever God has created, so he's either gonna try to ruin it or he's gonna try to counterfeit it.
yeah, 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 perversion, yep. Go ahead, Lucy.
Quick comment, does the Torah prohibit piercings?
You know what? Here it does, yeah.
Ears?
Yeah, but then again, when it says take the slave, the servant, and yeah, you know, so that is an ear pierce. So you're right.
Gotta be some type of specific piercing.
Yeah.
He's talking about that's not.
Well, but then again, when they built the golden calf and everything, the men took their nose rings, you know?
But you know what? A lot of this was for God. What they do today is for men and the world. It's
Oh, that's a
not
good way of
for-
putting it.
It's not for the
Yeah,
Lord.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, back then, all the jewelry that they gave, like you said, it was for the Lord. Today, they're doing everything and, you know, it's for them, you know, and
Your flesh.
yeah, your flesh, you're right. So, all right, anyone else? Okay, I'm gonna move on. The next one I wanted to touch on was in Leviticus 19:32, you shall stand up in the presence of the gray headed and honored elders, and you shall fear your God. I am the Lord. This is a command from God. This may be the only time we old men will get recognized by all you women, or maybe not. But no, this goes no, this goes right along with honoring your parents. Okay, you honor people. In Israel, the Midrash says it applies to men over 70 years old. And where it says, and honor elders, it implies that this would mean men of knowledge, that when you're 70 years old or when you get older, with your study of Torah, you have more to share than a person of 18 or 19. So it's an honor to be within the people that of older age. We have an older congregation. Well, that's okay. We've got a lot of people here that have learned and can share even with the younger generation. So appreciation must be given to Torah scholars, the Midrash says. So it's an honor. There was a story of a rabbi who would circle around because he didn't like people walking down the street and people standing up in his presence. But then he was rebuked because they said, no, let the people, Torah says, and you're not allowing them to honor you. So let them have that. And it's kind of like, we have a gal in our congregation that when she's on the floor and you go to, and she's getting up and struggling to get up and you go try to pick her up. No, I don't need your help. I don't need your help. And no, not you. Not you. But the thing is, so that's why whenever I see her get up, I don't go help. I just say, you know, and to me, yeah. Yeah, so I just think that, no, just, you know, you're taking away like a blessing from that person. You know, it's just like you not accepting a gift from someone. No, I can't accept that or whatever. Well, it's a blessing. You've taken away that blessing from that person. Let them bless you.
Okay, let me bless you.
Go ahead, Maria.
Being a little old lady, I can understand her because although I'm taking the blessing away from you, you're taking away my independence.
Oh.
Oh,
I feel like if somebody helps me when I really, like, if I want to get up now and somebody helps me, I feel like, boy, I really do need it. I am old. But if I do it on my own, I feel like, hey, I can still do it. I can still do it. There's something, you got to reach my age before you can start throwing stones.
no.
Oh, be quiet.
She went to school with him. No.
I went to school with Moses.
Okay, you guys.
Maria, wait, this person in particular is not, I mean, she's
Okay,
not old.
She's younger than us, so.
It's not age, it's the mileage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys, in chapter 20, you know, we're gonna go to chapter 20 and we'll finish up there, but before I finish up, I just want to tell you that the one the one verse that really stuck out to me was verse 26 in chapter 20. And it says, I separated you from the nation so that you should be mine. I think we've touched on that quite a bit in this Perishable. God warns, if you disassociate yourselves or from the Gentile nations, or he tells the people, God says, if you disassociate yourself from the Gentile nations, you are mine. But if you adopt their ways of life, you shall no longer be mine. You see, and he's speaking to the Israelites and those that are grafted in, all the people that say, yes, Lord, we will serve you. 2026. You see, and even when the people walked away from the Lord didn't walk away from them. He was still there to welcome them back. And this is what, yeah, and I really feel that it's good what Pastor Bruce is saying with our prodigals. You know, our prodigals are coming home.
Amen.
You know, so in Leviticus 20, the chapter 20 backs up chapter 18 and 19 by prescribing the punishment for sins considered to be capital crimes by means of the death penalty. The punishment of the sins mentioned in this chapter are severe and strongly express the great importance of obeying God's command. Okay, this chapter covers much of the same things that were covered in Leviticus 18. The difference between the two chapters is that in chapter 18, the things are understood as sins. In chapter 20, they are pretty much regarded as crimes, which are to be severely punished. Okay, so in Roman numeral 4, chapter 20, prohibitions and exhortation. You know, and we can go through the whole outline, but well, I'll just jump right in. Well, while going through chapter 20, some things we read in this chapter bring about more questions than answers. For instance, we read in verse 18, if there is a man who sleeps with his menstruous woman and uncovers her nakedness, he has exposed her flow and she has uncovered the flow of her blood. So both of them shall be cut off from among their people. Okay. This punishment calls for both the man and the woman to be cut off from all the people, to be, you know, cast aside or put outside the boundaries. The punishment is a bit of a stretch, but here's a question that my wife had. How in the world Are the people going to know that a man and a woman, especially a husband and wife, had a sexual relation while she was on her period? Who is going to tell? Was there a peeping Tom who saw the whole thing happen? And the peeping Tom told the authorities? Or did the man and woman tell themselves? So, right.
You remember when Reuben used to get all these passages?
I know it. Oh, I know it. And he used to sit up here and say, why me? Why do I, why do I get this? You know, you guys get all the good ones and I get the, you know, as I studied further, the only thing I could come up with to justify verse 18 is that in today's day and age, we would not have considered a man, especially a husband, worthy of death for having sex with his wife during her monthly period. This would be a personal matter between a husband and wife, or for any man or woman when we consider the way things are today. Isn't this something like what Frank was sharing earlier? It doesn't apply to us, you know. Our society would view the sexual relation during a woman's period a matter of personal preference. God doesn't, okay? In our minds, it wouldn't even be considered an offense. But if the punishment is going to fit the crime, we would probably consider it a misdemeanor. But while we might consider it a misdemeanor, it was a felony to God, okay? It was a capital crime that was deserving the death penalty. Go ahead, Maria.
There was a peeping Tom, God. He was watching, and if he put this down, they know the law. It's just like if they went out and committed murder, they knew that they killed somebody and God knows it.
Yeah.
So if he had sex with his wife, they had it on their conscience that
You know,
they did something wrong.
and I understand that, but when we get to the book of Deuteronomy, what we're going to find is that the place of refuge, where if there's a crime out in the wilderness and the body is found, the person is dead, who is responsible for that? The nearest city is responsible for it. So, you know, yeah, they don't know how the person died, but yet, you know, the responsibility is going to, so the Lord didn't pinpoint, hey, this is a person who did it, but there's still responsibility taken from the nearest city. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, I get a lot of pushback on this, but I think a lot of these laws have a good logical scientific reason.
Yeah.
The easiest one to defend is circumcision. And, oh, by the way, there's an explosion of cervical cancer again, since, you know, we don't do that practice anymore, or trying to avoid it, okay, because it's a biblical thing, so people, it's against the law in San Francisco. Well, I don't remember the biology of, the woman is very susceptible at that time for infection, and then that would translate to problems with a baby that was formed next time around. So I just believe this, like circumcision, is in one of those health things that
Yeah.
I remember I understood at one time, or I think I did, but I can't remember the details.
Yeah.
Of it. It was a health thing though.
Well, you know, I did a wedding for a couple and their child was born, and they asked if I would be there, you know, for the circumcision and, you know, say a prayer. And I said, absolutely. But then I get a text back saying, well, no, we're not going to do it after all. We'll let him make that decision when he gets bigger. You know, well, when he gets bigger, this procedure that may have, I know we paid for our great grandson to be circumcised, and I think it cost us a few $100s, son. It cost us $200. So we paid for that. Well, he was telling us now that if he wants to go, even though his son is now, I don't know, maybe 6 months, 4, 5.
Oh, you mean the new?
Yeah.
people? Yeah, about.
Yeah, even if the baby, yeah, even if the baby is like 3 months old, And now it's gonna cost something like $6,000 to be certain. That's what he was telling me. That's what they're telling him. That's what they're telling him. But if he would have done it after the baby was born, 8 days later, it may have cost a lot less. So that's where they're at now. Now they're thinking it again. Well, we should have did it. Well, yeah, you should have. And I encouraged them to. I said, you know what? Rethink this. I told them that back when the baby was 2 days old, I said, rethink this because, if you're going to want to do it later on in life, it's going to be very expensive. So,
More painful.
yeah.
This is no extra charge, okay? But on the 8th day, there's a spike in the vitamin K level.
Right.
At the vitamin K, which helps blood clotting, is the
Right.
highest on the 8th day of any time in the baby's life. And the way we've gotten around it in hospitals here is we give a shot of vitamin K when the baby's born or
Uh-huh.
when it's done. But it's just another coincidence that the Bible got the 8th day thing right.
Yeah, they got it right. You're right. Okay, let me give you the fill-ins. In letter A, give a child to Molech, you shall be put to death. Giving a child to Molech could be, what the Bible tells us, it was a common practice for the nations to give their daughters to prostitution. And if you give the daughters to prostitution, there's prostitution in the whole land, and you're going to destroy the land. Also, giving a child to Molech would mean giving a child for sacrifice, that they would sacrifice their children. Today, that's exactly what our government up in Sacramento is doing. There's no difference. Just in the form of way that, I mean, when you put something in place and they tell you, oh, no, it's not infanticide. Yes, it is. Yeah. And all it is we said it before on other things we're talking about. It's just a stepping stone to get to something else. Before you know it, it's going to be okay to kill a child at any age. Maybe if they're not proficient in something or whatever, born with a disability or going through the teenage years, No, but in other words, even the older folks, what Oregon already has that in their laws,
We need a politician abortion bill.
Yeah, get rid of all the, but I like what Jack Hipp said. He said, I'm not impressed with the Republicans in Sacramento as much, not even impressed, obviously not impressed with the Democrats. He said, because, and I like what David Rubin said. He says, in America, you got rhinos, Republican and name only. He says, in Israel, we have what? Ginos, Jews in name only, because a lot of these people have really gotten corrupt in their minds. So, okay, that letter A, give a child to Molech, you shall be put to death. And letter B, do not follow the customs of the nations. Customs is the fill-in. And one thing I wanted to show you, because even here in chapter 20, again, we are told about sorcery. I'll take a cup, honey. 3 times within the 2 chapters, we are warned not to get involved with sorcery or divination. 3 times. So there's something there. So when your kids say that, oh, what are my lucky numbers today? Your lucky number is John 3:16, or your, but yeah, we got to keep them as far away from this as possible. No dabbling. Okay. And letter D, we are to be holy to our Lord. He singled us out. Okay. You know, you might think, well, I picked the Lord. No, you didn't. The Lord picked you. He chose you. You know, I shared down the hill when I was doing the communion blessing and how, I come from a large family, and even yesterday, my family got together and I wasn't able to make it. But the ones that did show up, I'm looking at the picture there, and there was like, out of the 14, there was 8 of them there. And only one knows the Lord, and, but that's it. Out of 14, there might be 4 of us, and why me, Lord? Well, because I chose you,
Yes.
you
And
know.
you didn't choose the other?
Yeah, apparently not, because they are so liberal. You got liberals, well, they're beyond that. You got people on the left, well, they're beyond the left.
We don't
So,
stop praying for them.
oh, you don't stop praying for them. Exactly, you don't. Well, that is our Torah portion for today.